Hello, Aaron.
Hey, Eldar, it's good to see you. I've been looking forward to this for a while now, but the schedule is such that you grab it where you can. And honestly, I think I've been to 7 countries in the last 10 days, so it's nice to finally breathe for a couple of minutes, be back in Sarajevo, and literally I'm flying out tomorrow, so I'm like, let's do this today. Let's get it done.
First of all, thank you so much, Aaron. It's really and truly my pleasure to have you here at our MarqetHub podcast. And I can't wait to share the amazing life, the amazing business story you have to share with our audience. You know, maybe some of the viewers already know you. Some of them do not know you. It's a shame for them, by the way. But we're going to introduce you today. And as I said, thank you so much for joining us. And you had pretty rough several days in the past, right?
Yeah.
What happened there?
Honestly, I can probably tell you where I've been. I was Dubai to Hungary to the US for a few days, see the family, see the grandkids, and then back to Hungary, Croatia, Bosnia, Hungary, UK, Switzerland, Hungary, Croatia for a layover, and then back to Sarajevo like yesterday. So it's been a crazy, that's like 10, 12 days. That's been my schedule.
It is. But you love traveling, right?
Well, the day that comes that I never have to get on another airplane, I'll honestly be pretty happy. But yeah, I spend a lot of my time and a lot of my professional, now my 4th decade of doing this has been on airplanes. So I travel a lot. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Like many people love traveling, and traveling has its own benefits, of course.
It does, yeah.
But
those upgrades are nice. Thanks to the gajillion miles you end up accruing over 40 years.
So there are some bonuses, right?
There's bonuses, yeah. Never turn down an upgrade, so yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one. So for the past 4 decades, right? You have been traveling a lot.
Yeah.
Why?
Partially it's because of the industry that I'm in, and partially because I did catch kind of the travel bug early on. I mean, I didn't get on an airplane until I think my first flight, I was like 18 years old, you know.
Wow.
Yeah, leaving from Oregon in high school to go live with my grandparents for my senior year of school in Spanish Fork, and that was like the first airplane I ever got on. Tiny little Cessna jet that took me to a regional airport and then on. That was literally the first time I'd ever been on a plane. And growing up, I honestly didn't think I was the kind of guy who was gonna see a lot of airplanes, you know. I mean, I come from a pretty humble background. I'm one of 8 kids, you know. I'm the second of 8, so pretty big family. You know, it was a challenging life growing up, but a lot of love with my siblings, you know. My mother passed away when I was 4 in a house fire, left my dad, and keep in mind this is the 1970s, where just a different time, you know, for a young guy to be left with 5 kids all under the age of 6, you know, stressful times. And so we had family that stepped up, and you know, it was a tragic accident, you know, that my mother passed away in a house fire. And we moved, and relatives helped us out and took care of us. Well, you know, my dad kind of recovered, and he eventually, you know, married a wonderful woman later. And then from that union came my 3 youngest siblings, my 3 youngest brothers. So we ended up this blended family of 8. But, you know, I mean, lots of love with all my siblings, and, you know, so.
So there's now 11 of you, right?
No, 8 of us, 8 total. There was 5, and then 3.
5 plus 3.
8 kids, which even for the 70s and 80s, that's a big family. That's a big family.
It is.
But it's kind of in our history and our culture, I guess. My dad, I think he had 12 or 13 siblings growing up in Arizona, you know, the deserts and farms of Arizona. So it's, you know, we're kind of used to it.
So a big family, right?
Big family, yep, big family growing up.
So that's probably produced a type of man you are currently, you know?
I like to think that, I think everybody is ultimately a product of their experiences. And I look back at the entirety of my life up to this point. I'm 54, you know, been doing this now for a few decades. But
54?
I think I'm 54.
But that's good. That's great.
That's good. How so?
In every possible sense. Honestly, I thought you were younger. Honestly.
You did?
Yeah, I did.
I get that a lot. People say you act younger than you are.
Yes.
And I'm like, I guess you're as old as you feel, you know. And,
that's great.
You know, and
I mean, your energy is quite off the books, honestly.
Thanks. Considering all the planes I've been on in the last 10 days, so yeah. But I think that goes for anybody. You're as young as you feel, and
That is
I guess in my mind, I don't know, I'm still 28 eternally, and people will tell me,
well,
you're
that's
not
a great
28.
mindset, Aaron.
Yeah,
That's
it
a great
is,
mindset,
it is.
By the way, for all of the viewers, we are currently in Bosnia. We are not in the US. We are
Nope.
not anywhere else in the Europe. We are in Bosnia, in Sarajevo. And this is a very important place for you. This is a very important place
this entire
for us.
region of the world.
Yes.
Yeah.
Why so?
Wow, where do I start? It also kind of ties back to my upbringing and how I got here, when I was 19 years old, in my particular faith, it's pretty typical for guys at 19 to go serve 2 years for their church. And you're assigned anywhere in the world. I mean, that's not your call. It's like the church decides that for you. We've got guys that they go to Africa, or they go to Orlando, Florida, or New York, or Utah, or Europe, or just anywhere in the world. So for us, it's kind of an exciting time I'm going to get my envelope and it's going to show me where I'm going to go. And bear in mind, this is 1990.
Wow.
Berlin Wall has just come down. I watched it come down live on TV in high school, and I'd loved like politics and international relations. And I was a big, study the capitalism versus communism, that whole thing during the Cold War. So anyway, when I get my envelope, I come home from, I was at university at the time, it was my freshman year, and I get my envelope and I open it up and it says, you've been assigned to go to Budapest, Hungary.
Oh, wow.
And I was just like, wow, that's cool.
So that was like 30 years ago?
More, 30. This was 1990, so 36 years ago.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, my first real international experience came with opening that letter.
So that was the first time you actually touched the land of Europe, right?
It was, yeah. So I flew over, and again, I arrived in early 1991 to Budapest, Hungary, and it's an exciting time because it's only been 2 years since the Iron Curtain came down, and people are like, all right, freedom, we're now experiencing it, and so I got to spend 2 years just living and learning from people, learning this incredibly weird, alien, hard language, Hungarian, but that was my first experience with Europe. And it's crazy because I studied like French in high school, like you're supposed to. Pick a language. People speak Spanish, they speak French. I studied French for like 3 years. Really couldn't ask for a glass of water, But still, from that to jumping into learning Hungarian, which is, you guys know, your neighbors. Anybody would tell you the Hungarian language is like, it's out there.
It's ultra hard. It's
ultra hard.
Yeah,
6 months into my 2-year assignment, and I was still kind of just fumbling my way around with the language. And then it finally occurred in my head, I'm like, this sucks. I'm going to be one of those guys that just can't learn the language. And, but it comes pretty soon. You start to think in the language and dream in it.
Now you speak Hungarian, right?
Oh, fluently. 100% fluently. So, yeah, my life is revolved.
That's actually impressive. Very impressive,
Yeah, I don't want to brag, and I don't know. There's definitely...
Just brag.
There's definitely foreigners who speak Hungarian better than I do, but I think I speak it pretty well.
You're the top level, right?
I like to think so. Yeah. Other people will probably tell me differently. So, but it's interesting. You're improving with the language, and I saw this during my time in Hungary in those first 2 years. You knew you were crap at it when you'd be trying to talk and, I can think many about, and people would just pat you on the head and be like, oh, you're so good. I can't even tell that you're not Hungarian. And so you knew they're lying to you, of course. You knew you were making progress when they finally stopped and started saying, hey, you need to say it this way. And they start correcting you. Then you're like, okay, I'm making progress. So,
well, that's great. I actually like...
That's a long way to say... 2 years in Hungary, I learned the language and loved it. Yeah.
Only in 2 years?
2 years, yeah. I was there for that period of time, for that service period of 2 years. And then I went home, went back into the university, and I kind of caught the bug. I absolutely loved speaking Hungarian. Now I wanted to expand my vocabulary and kind of get into the political side of things and the business side of things. So I went back on an internship back to Hungary. Now as a civilian, not as a religious guy. I went back as a civilian, worked for an import-export company, using my language to help, it was literally mundane stuff. It was like calling medical universities to help order textbooks that would be imported for the medical universities and things, and just enjoyed that period of time. I was there for about 6, almost 7 months, and it was during that time it's funny. I'll tell the story, I guess.
Yeah, just go for it.
Here's the thing.
Okay.
When I fly over, I tell my grandparents, who I was really close to. I lived with them for my senior year of high school, and I had just amazing friends to this day that I made during that year of high school. So I'm going back to do my internship as a student, as a civilian. I'm just going to be. And my grandpa was like, "You're totally going to come home with a wife." And I said, "Not in a million years." I'm like, "Nope, time for that. I'm going to study. But literally within the first couple of months, we had like a meeting. I went back with another guy who was also going to study and do some work. And we had these big plans. We're going to go teach English at Lake Balaton, and none of that happened. So I ended up taking an internship with a import-export company. But in the course, one of those first weekends, we just somebody knew somebody, and a bunch of group of friends got together. And I met my wife, who was in that kind of group. I had heard of her while I was there for 2 years. She lived in a different city out on Eastern Hungary that I never visited, never knew, but I'd heard the name. And so when I finally put a name to the face, and we just kind of met, and we just started talking, and
that's right.
It clicked. Yeah. It clicked. It's interesting. I was so intimidated.
How old were you then? How old were you?
At that point, I was 21.
Oh, wow.
I was in Hungary from 19 to 21. Went back, did a semester, still 21, almost 22. No, 21. I was just, I was still 21. Went back in April. After I'd gotten home in January, I went back to Hungary, did the internship. So we met when I was 21. And it's one of those things, she thought it was funny when we talk about it later, that first kind of big meeting where it was like 5-6 guys, 5-6 girls, we're playing pool, we're, shooting hoops at a local outdoor court, just kind of hanging out and talking as young people do. And I talked to everybody, every girl, every guy that was there, talked to everybody but her, because I was kind of like intimidated. She's gorgeous, and later she was like, "You wouldn't even talk to me. I thought you didn't like me." And I was like, "It's because I was intimidated, But anyway, we struck up a couple conversations and hit it off, and we started dating. And on the weekend, I'd finish work, and she would come in on the train from her city, or I would take the train out to see her. And I remember just getting so mad that the trains were 2 minutes late. I was just like, because it's that feeling you have when you just totally fall in love with somebody. Yeah. And so
that's a beautiful feeling.
It is.
That's
a
very beautiful feeling.
It was a great start. We dated for a couple of months and was getting serious. And U2 came to town. It was the one and only stop they've ever played in Budapest. Was July of 1993. So I took her to that concert. It was my first U2 concert ever too. Wow. And and it was one of those moments where concert ends, it's super late, there's no public transportation running, we have like a 5-mile walk back to our apartment.
But at least you knew the language.
Yeah, we do. We
yes,
did.
it's your part.
And so we ended up walking almost all night just to get home. Went up to a big hill called Gellert Hill that overlooks the Danube, and it was kind of impulsive. And because at one point you just know that this is the person I want to spend my life with. I know it's crazy for most people to hear that. They're like, really? After 3 months? And I did. I asked her to marry me, and
that's
she
actually
thought about
a beautiful love story, Aaron.
It is,
because I told you before the podcast that there are some connecting things between you and me, which I did not share before with you. But most of my viewers actually know that, specifically from my period when I was a YouTuber, is I actually also married very young.
Tell me. Yeah. That's one thing that really attracts me to the whole Bosnian culture is because families are so important. So how old were you?
Yeah.
When
I was 18 years old.
Nice. You beat me. You beat me by 3 years. So.
Very, very young, and I loved it.
I wouldn't have done it any other way.
That's correct. Yeah, me too.
I was 21. My wife was 19. I always joked that I married a teenager. She's like, I was only a teenager for a month, because she turned 20 like a month and a half later. We were young, dumb, poor. But that's the way to do it. I think there's beauty in the struggle of early years of having to scrape and make every nickel count, and and having kids early too, because we have 4 kids.
So now we have 4 kids.
We have 4 kids, yes.
How old were you when you got the first kid?
First kid, that came 13 months after we got married. My oldest son was born. So we had our first kid in December, right before Christmas, 1994. We got married in November of 93, so about 13 months. Is
he a boy or a girl?
baby. Boy.
Boy.
It was a boy.
So he's 1 year older than myself.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
that's crazy. I'm old enough to be your dad.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the beauty of marrying young, having kids young.
Maybe that's one of the reasons why I respect you so much, and your wisdom and the way how you actually approach things. And I'm sure that right now the viewers can see why I actually wanted to have a podcast with you,
I'm an open book, man. Ask me anything, because I do. Looking back, I appreciate my journey. All the ups, downs, lows, difficulties, whatever, you're a product of your experiences. And, I can say that. And some of the most beautiful experiences of my life, the most beautiful experiences of my life are that. They're around family, watching your children being born.
That's correct.
Being a young dad, trying to figure it all out, working 2 jobs and going to school. And,
oh, wow.
you get through those early years, to make it happen.
That's great. So when was that break point when you actually knew I need to do something more in my life, So working for, I don't know, a 9-to-5 job or something similar is not working for me anymore. Now is the time when I need to change this.
Well, there's a little bit of family history in that too. When I went to live, when I was a senior in high school, I left my home in another state, went to live with my grandparents. And my grandfather and his brothers had founded one of the first kind of herbal supplement network marketing kind of companies in the U.S. Even by then, by 1989, when I went to live with them, they'd already been in business for 30, 40 years. And I worked at the family company. I'd get off school at 3:30, get on my bike, go to the factory, and I would run encapsulation equipment and things. And so I saw just tons of raw herbs come in and go through the whole testing QA process and be turned into supplements that I know went out and just blessed people's lives and health. And since my grandfather and his family, that was their life, it really kind of stayed with me that's cool. So I already had a little bit of a taste of that, health supplement lifestyle, because I earned money in high school to pay for college by, working at the family as a grunt. I'd clock into my shift and run the capsulation machines and test and measure and did all that. And then started the university the next year, went to Hungary, did my 2 years, came back as a student, went back, got married, moved back to the U.S. with my brand new bride, and went back to my old job while I was going to school. And that's when I caught the bug that I would love to still be affiliated with Europe and take all this, back to Europe. So that's where the bug started, that I want to,
How many years ago was that?
Oh, this would have been end of 1994, early 1995. I'd been married just a couple of years at that point when I wanted to, to do that. And it's kind of comical. I'm like, a college sophomore, and I put on my suit and tie and made my little presentation, and I asked for a meeting with the company president at the time, who wasn't a relative. It was, they brought in somebody who had worked at Avon or Shackley or something. And I just wanted to make this pitch to the CEO that I would love to help take our company to Europe. And it was adorable, because you go in there, you're young.
And that was your idea, basically.
It was my idea.
Oh, wow.
And of course they said no. I was like 24 years old with this big business plan that was so naive, But that's where it started, was that I want to take this company to
How
Europe.
many times were you rejected before someone finally approved your ideas?
Yeah, I ended up leaving the company because school was going on, and I said, okay, I need to be because I think their position at the time was, we're not ready to do Europe, but thank you for trying, and go back to making capsules in the factory. And that's when I said, I should probably go somewhere else that's looking at Europe. And so I hooked up with a company a couple of years later that did have designs for Europe. And so my entry point into like this idea of global business working in Europe was with a company where we got to meet with a couple of colleagues, one of whom I'm talking to now about joining me here at my new venture, so he's a colleague from 30 plus years ago. The idea was we would bring this company's products to Europe, and that's how it started. We worked in a little office out of, this business park in Utah, and we just, started working on getting these products approved for import into Europe, and we set up an entire distribution network, and one thing led to another. And then I made the pitch after that was going well that I would love to move my family to Europe and run it from over there. And at this point, I'm only 27, 28. I'm still young.
That's very, that's a huge inspiration for myself and also for all of our viewers, At that young age, as far as I know, most people just think, okay.
I was a pretty young corporate guy before I turned 30. I was already in Europe setting up an office and doing import and figuring it all out with a wife and 3 very young kids. We had our 4th, a couple of years after that. But so by December 2003, I was fully in Europe, corporate job, wife, living in Budapest, which I knew because, and it's been a huge part of my life ever since, living and working in and around Hungary and this entire region. So.
Except for Hungary, where else in Europe were you making business?
Well, from Hungary, we ran all of Europe, so that was like a headquarters in multiple companies over my 30-plus year career that I worked at. We did live briefly in Switzerland for another company. We went there for a year to get that company up and running and started. And with that company, they had told me, hey, sign a contract for a year to go get all the work done. And if you like it, love it, stay forever. But take a year to make sure that you like it. This was now 2010 is when I moved over. So a lot transpired in that 10 years that I was working. We had was not an easy life for a lot of different reasons. I mean, we had the global recession in 2007, 2008. That hit us, hit my family as well. We kind of had to hit the restart button and start over again with kids that are under the age of 14, 4 of them, and to kind of have that big life transition and, went home and tried to figure it out. And at that point, I thought, you know what, I'll take a break from the international, corporate lifestyle maybe, and I went on a completely different tangent and thought, you know what, I need to make money now. I took a job with an oil company.
With an oil company?
Yeah, with an oil company.
Oh, that's a change of heart.
It was huge change. And they were hiring for positions that handled this brand new type of drill pipe technology, where like you would have machines that would go 5,000 meters into the ground and communicate in real time what it's seeing, which was like the difference in technology in the oil industry from going from a candle to a Ferrari overnight. So it was huge. It was game changing. I was really excited about the concept. And I thought, I'm never going to get this job because I'm not a technical person. I don't do computers and stuff, but I interviewed well. They liked me. So I went into a whole training program. I was excited for it. And I did my deep sea training for that job, flew back out to Scotland and did the whole thing with the fake helicopters that they dunk in the water and you have 30 seconds to get out. And I did all that. Just fun. And I was excited to kind of, explore that and finished my training and had just gotten assigned to like the Indian Ocean region that would have been run out of Perth, Australia. And we were literally like 3 weeks from moving to Perth, Australia. And I was going to work a schedule that was 3 weeks on an oil platform, 12-hour days, 7 days a week, and then 4 weeks off for a good chunk of oil money. And I was like, this will be nice. I can get used to that schedule. And then everything imploded. Price of oil shot up to like $150 a barrel, similar to what oil's doing right now. And the whole project became too expensive it dropped from 150 to like 50 overnight. And so they furloughed the whole project, and I was like, I got to figure it out again. But immediately I went back to what I knew and loved, which was global corporate network marketing, just getting companies established and logistics set up and documents done. And, and so that then took me to Switzerland for a year. And we loved our year in Switzerland, and so my kids got to go back to Europe, now in Switzerland, not Hungary. And they got to go to, Swiss schools and learn German and kind of get integrated. Great life for my kids because, they got to see and experience so many different cultures and melting pots and different people, both in Hungary and especially in Switzerland, where the school they went to was kids from all over the world.
That's a true international experience,
That's a long rambling way to say I loved my time in Switzerland.
But it's actually a very fun way, to explain. And I think that always is very important to put the basis and to explain to people how actually you got to this point, because as far as I know, most people just see the tip of the iceberg, and they see, okay, now Aaron is successful. He has this international global company, so many years of experience and so on. But it was not always easy, right?
No process really is ever easy, and you learn from your mistakes and you grow the way you're going to grow. And, I was young and, I certainly didn't make every single right decision in my career, but I made enough correct decisions to learn from mistakes and grow. And so I've honestly had a really successful, now I'm in my 4th decade of
doing this.
Right? Yeah.
Well,
we left Switzerland to go back to Hungary for a new opportunity that a friend of mine pitched to me and said, hey, we want to bring our company to Europe and get it going. And you're the guy, because I've now done it for 2 companies in Europe. And it's funny because I told him initially, old friend of mine, his name's Byron Belka, but he called me and said, hey, I've got this opportunity. I want to bring it to Europe. You know, we want to run it out of Budapest, which again was, at that point, it was almost my hometown. In my life, I lived more in Budapest than any other city. So it's almost like my adopted hometown.
Even your hometown?
Yeah. If you want to jump back into my youth, we moved so often. My dad was in construction, so he followed the work. So I literally moved like 15 times in my first 18 years. We lived in different houses and cities. He'd go where the construction work took him. So yeah, I didn't have a traditional hometown. I just didn't. So it was always moving, new schools, trying to make new friends, and that's tough on a kid, you know.
So basically, I can call you a citizen of Earth, right?
Yeah, you can. Still proud, you know, proud to be American. You know, it's who I am. But the vast majority of my life has been spent overseas, you know. And I'm a Hungarian citizen. Have my Hungarian passport now for a few years. Finally decided.
Well, then the only thing that's left is to become a Bosnian citizen, right?
If you guys will have me.
100%.
Yeah,
I think the viewership will love this interview, this podcast, and I surely love it. Now we have come to one very important part of our story, which is how you actually came here and why did you choose Bosnia of all of the countries, developed, incredible, amazing, huge countries of the world. Why Bosnia? The heart-shaped country in the heart of Europe.
Well, there's a little period, a couple of years I left out in my entire life story, but I was also a reservist in the U.S. military during my college years and during my initial 12 corporate years. I had 2 6-year terms in the reservists because I spoke Hungarian. So I was a Hungarian linguist. They would use me for NATO-related duties and things. So I did a couple of assignments at the Budapest embassy in, 96 and 97. And again, with a young family, young kids, So what first took me to Bosnia was I came here in 2002. Actually, as a peacekeeping soldier, part of S412.
Oh, wow.
The war had ended by that point, and we were well into just the peacekeeping years. And, my assignment with my little Hungarian-speaking squad of 5 guys was just to do kind of advanced work and force protection for soldiers who were assigned to do peacekeeping in Bosnia. They would get leave and go to Budapest for like their R&R, rest and relaxation. They'd go to Budapest and kind of let go after having spent, 3 months in a uniform, working 18-hour days, and then they'd get to go 4 days. Our job was to just make sure they were safe in Budapest because, young soldiers in a big city, bad things can happen. They can go a little bit crazy. And our job, since we spoke the language, was to, make sure we had good contacts with all the local police precincts and things so that if a soldier happened to get a little tipsy and get into trouble, we could go manage that situation and, get him out. So, I traveled to Bosnia, to Tuzla, to Eagle Base during that period of time. I was stationed in Hungary.
When was that?
This was 2002, 2003.
Okay. Yeah.
So I was on leave from my corporate job to do that. And it was when I went back in 2003, when that assignment ended, that I really wanted to go back to Budapest in my corporate capacity. And at that point, the company I was working for, I pitched the idea and they said...
And then you left Bosnia and went to Hungary again, right?
Yeah. So that job was based out of Hungary and it served primarily just the EU. So I really didn't have much to do business-wise with the Balkan region at that point. That came later when I worked for my previous company for almost 14 years. I was with them. And at that point, I had a unique opportunity to open up the Balkans. And so I finally kind of came back to Bosnia after being away for all those years. And to experience it now when it's developed and thriving. Sarajevo is an amazing city. It's one of the cool cities of the world, And so for me to see how it was in 2002 and see how it is today was phenomenal. So since 2018, I've been coming and going frequently, to Bosnia and Kosovo and Macedonia, the whole region.
So there was like a 15 years gap after you left Bosnia to Hungary and then went back again.
I was in Europe, but I really didn't have much to do in Bosnia. But since 2018, definitely, it's been a big part of my life. So,
what was the first thing, if you can recall that moment?
Okay, I'll try to recall.
When you entered the soil of Bosnia, when you saw Bosnia the first time, and then later on when you came back after all those years. how did you felt?
I don't want to go too deep into any political issues because I love everybody. I mean, I'm a citizen of the world and I have friends everywhere, and I know that kind of tragic history of that war, you know. And for me, coming to Bosnia and being around Tuzla at Eagle Base and going off post and, you know, seeing the city and stuff, and, you know, I would see buildings, brick buildings with bullet holes in them, you know, and it really brought home the utter tragedy that is war, regardless of what side you're talking about. It's just,
that's
was
completely.
So that was kind of my first very somber impression of Bosnia, was that coupled against the beautiful green mountains, and you know, you had these tragic images, and you'd see the signs that were like, stay out of this field that hasn't been cleared of mines yet, you know, and then that juxtaposed against the absolute gorgeous scenery. I mean, Bosnia is one of the prettiest, sceniest, I don't know how you'd say that, scenic countries. And that's somebody who's been to Norway, who lived in Switzerland, who's seen these beautiful places. Bosnia's right up there with its mountains. So then to go from that, then to coming back and doing, you know, business here, and just really having a love and appreciation for the family culture that's here. For me, that's huge. Because again, I'm a guy that married young, had kids young. And for me, nothing I do in my life is as important as what I do as a father. And now as a grandpa, and in my grandpa years. That's the most important thing. And so seeing lots of young families in Bosnia and that, you know, culture of, you know, loving your kids, and, you know, that's always been important. So to see that juxtaposition was nice, you know. So
that's actually very interesting. Thank you, Aaron, for sharing that with us.
Sure.
So now when you are in Bosnia, what is your main purpose here?
Oh, well, recently we're now in our 8th month of operations. Life throws curveballs at you, and, you know, a company that I thought I'd be with forever, you know, it didn't work out. Differences of opinion, you know, I ended up separating.
Yeah, that happens, you know.
It happens, and it happened at a point in my life where I'm now over 50, and I'm thinking, hey, I've got a decade left before kind of retiring. What do I want to do? It was like kind of a fresh slate again of, man, I got to start over and think. And I'd always had this desire in my entire career of what would it be like if instead of being successful at running companies and working for somebody, what if I set up my own company? You know, because now I had 3 decades plus of experience in doing it. So I thought, let me try the owner side of things. And it was a huge gamble. A lot of talks with my wife and I about, is this something we want to do? Because any startup is a risk, always. You know? And this 100%. Was not going to be any different. You know, we had savings, and we're like, do we want to put all of our savings into trying something new? And because I had ideas of the kind of company I wanted, and we decided to go all in. You know, this was, you know, less than a year ago that we sat down, and I found a great local partner. It's Maida Alioska, who I'd known. She'd worked for me in my previous company for a lot of years, and broached the idea with her that, hey, what if we do this? And so we immediately sat down, started brainstorming about my years of experience in the health industry and seeing great products formulated and made. And so we decided to make a company that was going to be based on premium level health products that come from nature. You know, we wanted to, and there's it's $1 trillion industry. There's everything in the world out there that you can think of exists. And I said, what's going to set us apart? And so we had to make that distinction, and then really work over the summer on coming up with products that we thought would fill gaps in the marketplace. We found it, we did it, and we started this company, and we kicked off late October 2025. So literally like 7 months ago. And it's been, I'm not going to say it was easy, because it certainly wasn't. Lots and lots of challenges thrown at you, as with any startup, you know.
Yes.
But I got a great love for everybody. I'm excited about what we're building, and we've had a good first 7 months. Primarily here in Bosnia is where we started, because our factory is here. I made sure we were headquartered out of Dubai, because I view this as a global company. And from a view of looking toward the future of where global business is moving, Dubai is such an incredible, vibrant hub. I've been going there for years, owned property there, you know.
That's right.
And I thought, let's set up our global headquarters in Dubai. So it's a global Dubai company, UAE. and we'll open up branch offices as we expand around the globe. Branch offices of that Dubai company. We started in Bosnia because we formulate and make our products here, which I'm really, really proud of. So we're a global company.
That's very important.
That makes its products here locally. So it's homegrown, you know. I heard a lot of rumors, especially when you start a new company, you have competition that's like so many rumors thrown out that, oh, this is just a scam from Dubai that wants to steal Bosnians. But I'm like, no, we have our headquarters here. We make our products here. They're incredible products made by a very amazing, reputable, long-term Bosnian company who we have an amazing partnership with. So I'm happy to call us not just a Dubai company, but honestly, our premier flagship office location is here in Bosnia. And we're getting ready to open the EU. We got our product registration. In the next few weeks, we're going to launch our EU markets, and we're going to launch the other. So
that's exclusive info, right?
Exclusive info. No, I'm breaking that news right now. You know, we're going to start in the EU very, very soon.
That's so nice.
And I've had a business and staff in Budapest for the last 15 years, and I'm just excited and ready to go, and it's going to be great. So I didn't want the podcast to be all about just my company and everything, but that gives you background into why I love being in Bosnia. The family culture ties so well into mine, how I feel about the kind of the eternal structure and nature of family. You know, it's important to me.
It is.
Now, as my kids are having kids, I've got 3 grandkids now. It even takes that even more home. And so now every minute I spend away from my family, because they're now for a couple of years now, they've been based in the U.S. because ultimately we were going to retire back to where my family originated from. My grandma grew up in Wyoming. Her family settled Wyoming in the 1850s as pioneers. I don't know if you're familiar with the city of Jackson Hole. It's like like a big kind of, now it's this huge kind of global hotspot where all the billionaires fly to. But back in the day, it was a dusty old town on the high Wyoming mountain plains. 9-month winters, you know, the weather would kill you if you weren't prepared for it. And into that, my mother's mother, so my maternal grandmother's pioneer family, was one of the 5 families that went out there and settled that area, carved it out of nothing, you know. And so I've gone there over the years to visit, and I have third cousins there and everything. And so we decided, my wife and I, that we'd kind of retire out there because my kids went to school in the U.S. and, you know, they all decided to stay. And 2 of my 4 kids are now married, have kids of their own. They're building families there. So we decided, you know, my wife is such, she's like, you know, I'm going to be where the kids are and the grandkids are. So visit when you want, honey. But this is, so we did. And as a side note, I know we're on a couple of tangents, but a few years back, I ended up buying for my wife her childhood dream. Because this is a girl who grew up in Eastern Hungary, in the city of Debrecen, but she would spend, which is a relatively big city, 250,000 people. But her keres mama, her like god grandmother, you know, lived old school out in a little village where it's an outdoor vetse, it's an outdoor kitchen, chickens, goats, everything, you know, and every summer she'd be out there with her beloved, you know, grandma's, you know, sister. And she just loved that. So she's an amazing woman who knows how to work with her hands, gardens, greenhouses, goats, chickens. We've recreated all that at our place in Idaho.
So now you have your own farm, right?
Yeah, it's basically kind of like a gentleman's farm. It's about, it's 14 and a half acres, which I think that's like 5 hectares, acres, however it's set here, you know. So it's a good piece of property, and we have alfalfa that we raise to feed the animals in the winter, and we have greenhouses so we can extend our growing season. My wife is an amazing green thumb. So outdoor gardens, indoor greenhouses, we grow everything we eat. We get sometimes 60 eggs a day from our chickens.
A day?
Yeah, a day.
Oh, wow. What do you do with that? It's a lot.
All of our kids have free eggs, and our neighbors and people who meet us on the street.
That's beautiful.
Anybody need eggs?
That's beautiful. Yeah.
So my wife is out there, and she's loving that aspect of her life to, you know, kind of to do again what she did growing up, you know, before this stupid, ugly American stole her away from Hungary when she was 19.
But that happens.
It's true though, and
happens,
I did. I married so above my rank. I mean, it's crazy. She's just amazing woman, amazing mother, incredible grandma. Now it's funny because neither of us feel like grandparents. You know,
Yeah.
she's Mimi.
Well, you're
and
still
I'm
young.
Pop,
I mean,
we're
54
young.
is not old. So yeah, that's
to be
that's great.
54 and 52 and already have 3 grandkids, and you know,
That's actually amazing.
which I like it. I like being a 54-year-old grandpa instead of a 78-year-old grandpa.
As you love being a father at young age, right? Yeah.
It's so much cooler being a
much
pop.
cooler. Yeah. Finally, man, I can speak with about this one, you know, because you know when you are young and you have kids, you can play with them. You know, you have energy, you have everything. You know,
When you're in your 20s, and that was us. You roll around and wrestle on the floor and run in the park and do the slides, and it's easier when you're younger.
100%. Yeah.
And I know how society is today. People run off and they get married now after partying for a decade, and then I'll settle down when I'm 38. And I'm like, it's so much better and more fulfilling
100%,
when you're younger. It
Yes,
just
yes.
is. I would
build
change a
everything.
thing about
100%.
yeah.
You build your whole life, you know, on a basis that you have a partner.
Yeah.
And then you build together.
Yeah.
It's much more beautiful.
My wife
much
and
more
I, we look at
fulfilling.
each other and laugh when we have the grandkids over and we're playing and doing stuff. And we look at each other and go, do you know how hard this would be if we were parents right now? You know, because it is. It's different when you're doing it at 54 than when you're 25, you know.
That's correct.
But we get the best of both worlds. We get to spoil them, play with them, you know, feed them the sweets they can't really get at home, you know, and then give them back to their parents.
Yeah, true grandfather. That's beautiful. You know, Aaron, it is truly an honor for me to speak here with you.
Yeah.
I have one thing. Your company, Life Up Global. Why did you name that company that way, Life Up Global?
We were going back and forth on the names because for me, important. What am I going to name my company? And on a few occasions growing up, especially when I lived with my grandparents, you know, my grandma would say something occasionally when it was like life was hard, or I'm like a 13-year-old kid out cleaning the ditches and not happy because it's 100 degrees outside, and she's just like, just cowboy up and do it, you know, because she grew up in Jackson, Wyoming, you know, so she had a hard life growing up. And so she was a take no nonsense woman, you know, and so that kind of stuck with me when I was thinking about this. And I know that phrase from a million other places, from movies and popular culture, cowboy up, which to me always means pick yourself up, you know, something hard happened, you know, just pick yourself, you got kicked off the horse, pick yourself up, dust yourself off, get back to the task at hand, cowboy up, you know, it's like get yourself together and move on. And so I took that from the situation I was just in at the time, where, okay, was huge change, really sudden, not prepared for it. And now I gotta pick myself up, dust myself off. I've got like a extended family now to take care of, 4 kids, grandkids, stuff. So time to cowboy up. And I took that into the philosophy of the products that I wanted to make. And so I turned that into, you know what, Life Up made sense, you know, that we want, and I don't know if I'm communicating it properly, but I like the idea of, you know, creating something that informs, enhances, provides betterment to not my life, but everyone else's. So just Life Up. You know?
So Life Up makes perfect sense, actually.
Yeah.
You know?
In my
When
mind,
you think
anyway,
about
it sure did. So,
Yes.
and I talked about that with my partners. We're like, what do we think about this? And everybody was like, yeah, that's, you know,
That makes sense. Yeah,
That's it. It's
really.
like, ding, you hit it, you know? And so
That's great.
that's the direction we went. And right now we're
That's
working
beautiful.
overtime to just make a good, positive, life-changing global brand that'll really bring change and betterment to everybody's life who comes in contact with it. Whether it's first and foremost from a health perspective, we really are dedicated to creating and making products that improve people's lives, you know. And the other aspect of that is people that then want to make a business opportunity out of it. You have that ability to become financially free and your own boss by representing products that work, products that people, when they come in contact with them, love, and then boom, you become your own boss and kind of free yourself from the clock, you know. So those two aspects of what we do both tie in perfectly to the concept of Life Up. So that's kind of how I see it. And I'm super happy that we were able to start here in Bosnia. And we're getting, I mean, how many global companies can say that we had our start in Bosnia?
Not very much.
Not very many.
Yeah, very many.
I'm going to think that there's not that many. So my history here from a business perspective, coupled with that, I was just really thrilled to start our business here. And I love that the first podcast I've done almost in any capacity is with you and your company here, because you guys helped us out with our launch with the audio and visual stuff, and I'm so impressed. You guys do such good work. I mean,
thank you so much.
That's awesome. So to be here to you today talking about this, it's amazing. I know I've rambled on a lot about my life and probably told only half of the funny stories that I could tell. But,
maybe this is serious, So that's great. Aaron,
yeah,
I have only one more thing to ask you.
Ask away.
It is very important for us Bosnians.
Okay.
Like the importance of it goes way beyond the borders of Bosnia, which is, do you like Bosnian food?
Dude. Food is another podcast entirely. For one, I didn't always look like this. This is decades of good, awesome Hungarian cooking by a woman who knows how to cook.
Oh, wow.
So, and there's some similarities between the cuisines, but I mean, Bosnian food is amazing. I mean, don't get me started on cevapi, I mean, from the entire region, shopska salads, and
That's correct, yeah.
I have a great restaurant in town that I love called Siriana. That place.
They're gonna love this.
I'm giving them free. I'm giving them free advertising.
Free marketing, yeah.
They
are very good.
I walk in and they're like, we know what you want. The lamb plate with rice and So
that's very good. Very good. All right.
So I have my spots in town that I like to go eat and stay fat at. All in all, I'm in pretty good shape, but I'm always trying to, lose a few pounds, but it's hard when you've got that Hungarian food on the table.
Yeah. It's always a struggle. Internally.
But we're making a new product that's going to be kind of like an all-natural sort of GLP-1 type product. So yeah, another news I'm breaking that's in early formulation.
Wow. That's also very exclusive to
We're
us,
making stuff. Yeah. So lots of ideas. Yeah.
You are truly an amazing human being. I always love speaking with you, honestly. Even if we just put aside our business relations, I really do love speaking with you, and thank you so much for being a part of this MarqetHub podcast.
I love you guys' company. I love that you're always forward-looking in marketing. I think you guys do great work, and we're happy to work with you guys. And really, I enjoyed coming today and just talking about life, family, the universe, a little bit about my company. So I hope through the podcast, people can kind of get to know me as a person, who I am, kind of the principles I have for life and family. And anybody that's interested in finding about more of what we do, contact us, lifeupglobal.com. Hit us up, send us a message. You'll probably talk to me directly because we're a startup. So I'm always excited to make new friends in Bosnia and Serbia, the surrounding countries, Macedonia. We got an office we're opening soon in Kosovo. It's and Serbia's starting pretty soon. Nice. So we're expanding. We're in the formation phase of our branch office in Belgrade. So we're excited to get started there soon. So we're growing. We're excited. We got a great company, great products. It's been a labor of love, very difficult, not without its challenges. But like I said, I think I said it earlier, we're a sum total of our life experiences. And I wouldn't change anything that I've experienced as highs, lows, difficulties. You learn from every interaction and from everything. And so where we are right now, long sleepless nights sometimes because it's so much work, but it's fulfilling. And it fulfills my own personal mission, which is, support families and help people achieve financial freedom and help make them healthy at the same time. What could be better than that? And that's Life Up Global. Yeah.
Very good ending to this beautiful podcast. Thank you so much, Aaron.
Have me on any time. Yeah, happy to talk.
Thank you.
I got a jillion stories I could probably tell. Thanks, guys.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Guys, grab the camera.